Every girl dreams of being born with hair as golden as rye, and that dream came true for me, not just metaphorically, but literally. Even in my early childhood, when I was the size of a watermelon, I got my first few golden locks of hair. Even then, people were going crazy about them. Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I know what you think of my life. She is so lucky. She must be the luckiest kid on the planet. It's like she's some kind of fairy tale. I quite agree with the third statement, except it's not a fairy tale about the Little Mermaid or Snow White, but a horror story of how I was literally a prisoner of my own hair and the money I could get for it. I was never treated like a normal kid. In people's eyes, I was like a walking sack of money. At first, my father didn't want to make money off of me like I was a racehorse. She's so beautiful. I don't want to turn her into some business venture. But then my stepmother Shelley stepped in. What are you talking about, Peter? We have to do this for the sake of her and the family. You don't want her to go to regular school or work as a waitress in a restaurant, do you? Dad was powerless against such arguments. His problem was that he was afraid of Shelley, and he loved me very much. Only if it was for her sake. So, a machine called Elizabeth's Gold Mine started up. I was completely bald until I was 6 years old because Shelley would cut off all the hair she could get her hands on, and then she sold it to jewelry stores. Turns out the gold in my hair was practically pure and worth a lot of money. We got rich quick, moved into a new house, hired servants, a whole army of guards. I was worth too much to be left unattended. But even then, there were incidents, like the story with my nanny Kim. She had to look after me, feed me, dress me, entertain me, and I really liked her. She was fun to be with, especially compared to Shelley, who, my hair aside, wasn't interested in me at all. But Kim wasn't what I thought she'd be either. She pretended to love me, but she wanted to kidnap me, and she would have done it if it hadn't been for the tracking anklet that Shelley put on my leg. The police grabbed Kim, and they brought me back home. I didn't trust anyone else. Shelley only condoned it. You have to understand that nobody is interested in you, baby. They only want your hair. What about you? Come on, I love you. Even though my stepmother said it with a smile, I didn't particularly believe her. Another pain in my soft spot was Derek, Shelley's son. He was also my half-brother. He was 2 years younger than me, so he got away with everything. And not just as a kid. When Derek was 8, he broke his mother's expensive set and said, "It was Elizabeth. She said she could do whatever she wanted because it's her house." Shelley was furious. "Oh, is that so, Elizabeth? You think we're all just decorations for your fairy tale life?" "I don't think so. I didn't break the china. Derek did, and then he blamed it on me." "So, you're going to blame it on the kid? He's not capable of that kind of meanness." "But I tried to defend myself, but I couldn't." "No buts! You're grounded! No cartoons, no games!" When Shelley turned away, Derek stuck his tongue out at me and hugged his mother and went to eat ice cream. I was growing up, but nothing changed. I still went to a private school where no one cared about me. They called me Rapunzel behind my back and pulled my pigtails all the time. Shelley was so annoyed by it. "How could you let them treat you like that? You have millions of dollars in your hair." The fact that everyone disliked me was of no interest to her. At one point, my stepmother made me wear a hat to school. Shelley explained it to the principal this way. "She has some kind of skin infection on her head. You don't want your student to be bullied, do you?" The principal didn't have anything to say. My fairy tale turned out to be a nightmare, all in the grim tradition. The wicked stepmother, her evil child, and the father who couldn't do anything. How very prosaic. Ever since I was a kid, I used to pester my dad with a question. Where is my real mother? My father would frown his eyebrows and reluctantly answer, "Baby, Shelley's your mama. And the one you call mother left us. She's not your mother. But where is she?" He sighed heavily and said, "I don't know." I grew up, but it never stopped bothering me. Even in high school, I wanted to find my mother, but my dad just stayed silent. Just because my hair cost fabulous money didn't make me any happier. Quite the contrary. I wasn't allowed to go out, I wasn't allowed to take any lessons or play any sports, and worst of all, dating was off limits too. Shelly wouldn't even discuss it. Not until you turn 18 or maybe even 21. While guys were taking girls to the movies or cafes, I stayed home and did nothing. Every attempt to find protection from my father ended the same way. "Elizabeth, you should listen to your mother." "But she's not my mother," I said indignantly. "Don't say that. She loves you." "No, she hates me." "You are still little. You do not understand much. She takes care of you. You must listen to her." I loved my father immensely, but it was like we were talking about different people. I never understood what he saw in Shelley. She was cold and mean, and all she cared about was money and her nasty son. But it wasn't all bad. One day in physics class, a crumpled piece of paper landed on my desk. I unwrapped it and read it. "Do you want to go to the cafe? Kevin." I took my pen and wrote a little lower. Yes. I didn't know yet how to execute my plan, but I was dying to go out with Kevin. He was the cutest guy in class, and I didn't even know he liked me. At night, I crawled out from under the covers, silently got dressed, opened the window, and climbed down the tree. I was thrilled that I managed to slip away unnoticed, but I didn't know then that Derek saw me sneaking out of the house and was on his way to tell his mommy. I was on my way to my date with Kevin. When I walked into the cafe, everyone was staring at me like a statue. "Look at that hair! So shiny!" I was embarrassed, walked to the table I wanted, and sat across from Kevin. He smiled and called for a waitress. We ordered a Coke and a burger. I never had a Coke before. Shelley said it could be bad for my hair. "God, it's good," I said, taking one gulp of my glass. Kevin ordered more. "Have you never had a Coke before?" "No. Shelley won't let me drink it." "That's weird." "There's a lot you haven't heard yet." "Why don't you tell me?" So I told Kevin everything that was bothering me, about how I was being profited from like a gold mine, that everything was forbidden, that I don't know who my real mother is. It was so strange, someone listening to my problems and supported me. I could have sat in the cafe till morning, but I had to be back before dawn. I kissed Kevin on the cheek and ran home. Happiest day of my life, I thought as I climbed in through my window. But just as I stepped onto the floor, suddenly the light came on. Dad and Shelley were in the room, and behind them, Derek was grinning evilly. I had never wanted to punch him in the head so badly before, and I wanted to do it quite often. Shelley was the first one to break the silence. "Where have you been? At a time like this? You could have been kidnapped." "I went on a date." "A date?" There was no more word unpleasant to Shelley. "All the boys have one thing in mind, how to get our money. You think they really like you?" "Yes, and I'm sick of it all. You're holding me here like a prisoner." "But that's not true." My father intervened. "We love you." "But then why do I feel so unhappy? I don't want you to sell my hair. It is mine, and I will go wherever I want. I'm almost 18. Shelley wanted to say something, but I told them to get out of my room, and with a loud slam, I closed the door behind them. For once, my father was on my side. The next day, he said that they wouldn't sell my hair anymore, and that I could go on dates and do what normal teenagers do. Shelley looked at me with such hatred that it creeped me out. When my father left the room, she came close to me and hissed, "You're going to regret this. Let's see what happens when someone kidnaps you and shaves your head." "So be it. It's better than sitting at home all the time while you spend my money in expensive restaurants and stores." Shelley was about to object, but I'd already left, leaving her flaming with anger. It was nice to finally be in control of my life, going bowling with Kevin or watching movies together. Of course, I wasn't stupid, and I almost always wore a hat or a hood so as not to draw too much attention to myself. I wasn't looking for fame. I just wanted an ordinary life. Shelley hadn't spoken to me since that day. In fact, she was more quiet than usual, like she was up to something. One day, I climbed into the attic to get my long-lost toy box. It was Christmas, and I wanted to decorate the tree. An old suitcase caught my eye. I opened it and found dozens, maybe hundreds of letters and a lot of pictures. There was my father and some women in them. My heart told me that it was my real mother. It took my breath away, and I almost burst into tears. On the envelopes, I found the address. Maybe she still lives there, I thought. I wanted to ask my father, but no one was home. That immediately struck me as strange. Not even the servants, and Derek was gone, even though he was usually always there to annoy and bother me. And the strangest thing was that there was no security. I wanted to call my father, but then I heard the front door open. Must be Derek, I thought, and I went to look. But it wasn't him. There were two men in black masks standing on the doorstep. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Everything inside me tightened, and I ran to the back exit, but it was locked. I panicked and rushed to my room. I closed the door behind me and crawled under the bed. I tried to find my phone in my pocket, but I remembered that I had left it in the kitchen. Then I heard footsteps. Someone was coming up the stairs. The doorknob turned and a stranger entered the room. My heart was pounding so loud, I thought I could hear it a mile away. The masked man was about to leave. Suddenly, he looked under the bed. I screamed loudly, and he grabbed my arm and dragged me somewhere.